Welcome. My name is Colleen Reed. I am the program director at PEP, the Parent Encouragement Program. Well, this is great. We have some more kind of pre-K, we have some elementary, and we have some middle schoolers. So this is a really good sprinkling of ages. The great thing is tonight, I'm going to be sharing some really simple but very powerful tools about sort of dealing with these high pressure, sometimes clock is ticking moments that help parents with all ages of children. And so it looks a little bit differently. So when you have a question, if you have a particular scenario that you're working on, you can put that in the chat and include the age of your child. So then I can kind of tailor the answer to the place where your child is. Okay, great. So I'm looking forward to sharing some of these tools with you. I have been using them for a very long time, and I can tell you personally that they are incredibly effective and powerful and helpful to me. And it actually has been a part of all of my relationships with my partner, my parents, my colleagues, my friends, my siblings. And so these tools really helped me when my son was little and really a completely different temperament than mine. And I wanted to figure out how to collaborate and cooperate with him more rather than being angry and trying to force my requests on him. So we're going to be looking at some of these skills that will help in the morning and bedtime. These are questions that we get all the time. It's probably some of the top questions we get from parents. We've worked with parents actually around the world and thousands of parents here in Maryland through our programs. And I'll share a little bit about that with you in a moment. Okay. So again, we're the Parent Encouragement Program. We're based in Kensington and we've been around for 40 years, over 40 years. We are here to support parents so that they can help their children be courageous and capable and confident and resilient. We really want to help you foster a home environment where kids can learn from mistakes. They can have confidence to do hard things, which is really hard sometimes when our child is struggling to do something hard, and really work as a team to solve problems. They learn all of these things first in the family home, in the greater family unit that you have. And so as parents, helping to support our children in these ways as they grow, you're really growing a future adult, not raising a child as much as raising an adult. Our middle name is encouragement because we know that when kids feel better, they do better. And we know for parents as well, when you feel better, you do better. When you have tools to help in the moments when you really need them, you also, parents love they feel relief when they know they're not the only one with a particular challenge. And when things go more smoothly at home, they can go better in the rest of your life. You get to work or you get to where you're going every day and you're a little calmer and a little more balanced and a little more encouraged. Wonderful. Okay, so we have some teens. We have 10 and 13-year-olds. We have 14, 15, 18. Good. So as you can see here, our programs are designed and we have programs for parents of preschoolers through teens. And as I mentioned before, we really teach skills and like fundamental core ideas and then we help you kind of apply them to different stages and ages of your children. Okay, so just wanted to let you know, we have programs all the time. There's a QR code right there that goes to our live webinars page. And so you'll see here some of our upcoming programs. We have 4-week masterclasses that help you learn amazing kind of fundamental parenting ideas and practice them in an interactive way with parent educators. And we have a lot of on-demand videos that relate to this webinar if you want to go deeper. And so I will try as we go along to share those with you. Okay. So tonight, what's our goal? What are we going to cover? We're going to talk about why mornings and bedtimes are really hard. We're going to talk about power struggles because that's very often at the heart of these challenging times of the day. We're going to talk about ways to reduce our stress and kind of smooth the way a little bit. And then lots of tools about routines, sort of keeping tasks at the ready so that children can take the responsibility and not have a parent have to manage or kind of remind children. Some more tips for success and your questions. So again, if you have a particular question about something that's happening in your home and you want to sort of walk through some ideas to address it, please put that in the chat with the age of your child. And I'll get to those kind of towards the end of the presentation. If you have a question about what I'm presenting right in the moment, please put that in the chat as well. And thank you to Crystal and Marta for being here. They're going to be sort of flagging things as they come up. Okay. So as I mentioned, at the heart of what we do is encouragement, and some of these PEP principles that we teach are all about sort of lifting people up and not pushing them down. And so, as a parent and child, we want to show mutual respect, right? We ask for respect from our children, and so we show that respect to them as we recognize that every person has dignity and needs respect. So even the smallest child with very little life experience still deserves respect and dignity as we in autonomy as we help them grow and have them in the family. We want to focus on effort, and I know in the school environment they call that the growth mindset. So we want to focus on the progress. We want to focus on the effort that children are making and everyone is making, not so much on the end result or the mistakes that happen along the way. We want to encourage the effort and affirming contribution. Children, one of our most fundamental needs as a human is to belong. And so we find that belonging first in the family. And so as we're learning to contribute towards the family in special ways or really simple ways, we want to affirm that contribution that children are making to the family, and what they do to help the family be sort of in a loving and calm and respectful household. So this might sound like a Hallmark card, and however, so yes, it does sound kind of too good to be true sometimes. But the wonderful thing is, like, when we remember these a few simple things is like, for me, it's like putting a pair of glasses on. When my child was really pushing back at me as a little person, I learned to look at situations through his eyes. And so that was showing that I respected his perspective, even as a 3-year-old, like, wow, he's really frustrated right now with what we're trying to do and what I'm asking him to do. So if I show respect by understanding his perspective and how to approach it differently, that is a much more powerful and productive thing to do than to try to force him to do something or to stop doing something. Okay. So why are these times of day, morning and bedtime, such a challenge? It's because they're transition times. They're the clock is ticking. We're trying to do something in a there's a time deadline. We're tired, we're stressed, we're sort of losing control, or there's a sense of loss of control sometimes because especially for younger children, the transition to going to bed or the transition to going to school can be really sad and scary for them because they're separated from their parent or caregiver. For older children, they're kind of hardwired to stay up later, and so it might be hard to transition to sleeping and sort of getting their body ready to sleep at a decent time so they get enough sleep. Some children are dawdle at bedtime or kind of really drag their feet because they are craving more time and connection with their parent or caregiver. It may look kind of distressing and like they're pushing our buttons, but it's really a possible way, a possible explanation is that they are craving more time with you. And so we can find little tiny moments during the day to kind of soak them in, and special hug or a special like handshake or a special thing that you do during the day where you're like, where the child knows like my parent, my caregiver sees me, they love me. This is like a special message just for me and my parent. So they're challenging times of the day. Everybody's kind of transitioning from one place to another. And we're tired and we're stressed, and we usually resort to yelling or trying to force somebody to do something. And that usually backfires on us. Or we all go to some place, wherever we're going in the morning, really distressed or angry or mad at each other rather than mad at the situation. Okay. So usually in these moments when time is of the essence and we're trying to get something going and get people moving to get out the door, a power struggle happens. And these are part of everyday life. They're part of every family because these happen when we're all living under one roof. And so when we end up trying to make somebody do something or make our children cooperate, it it ends up in a power struggle. So it might look like you need to go to bed. It's past your bedtime. You got to go to bed right now. And so if we're kind of reprimanding or kind of pointing out a child not doing the right thing, we might be dangling a rope to them, and they might pull back and say, "No, I'm not going to bed now. I'm not tired. I'm not sleepy. I'll be fine." And so you're ending up pulling on opposite ends of a rope, and it becomes a win or lose situation. And in life, it doesn't really feel good for a parent or a child to win and the other person to lose. We want to be on the same team together, because that's how we collaborate, and we have a kind of relationship where we can talk through these things. And so when we're on opposite ends of the rope, it's a very common thing, and we're trying to force our child to get their shoes on and get out the door. We're trying to force our child to brush their teeth and get ready for bed, or to put down, turn off the computer, turn off their phone, and go to bed, to get their backpack and get all of their things ready in time and out the door so they can get to school. So power struggles are a reality of life. And here are some ideas about kind of defusing those power struggles. The first thing to think about, which is often kind of really hard to sort of wrap your brain around, is to drop the rope. So we don't want to be pulling on the other end of the rope as our child. When we're angry, when we're worked up, when we're yelling at each other, when we're trying to win, we're not going to find a solution that will be kind of accepted by everyone. And so what we want to do is kind of disengage from the moment and take a few moments. We can breathe, we can take a little break. The child can do the same to kind of calm down. We want to kind of re-engage our thinking brain so that we can come up with a solution that is that's more workable. And we can a really powerful way to start a conversation when these conflicts are happening is for the parent to say, "Hey, I realized I was yelling really loud a little while ago, or I pushed you, I kind of like threw your backpack at you, or I got really mad when you weren't in bed on time." And it doesn't mean that we are condoning the dawdling or the kind of the child not following through on something. We're just taking responsibility for our part of that moment. Because every one of these moments it's a two-way street. There's two people involved in it. So when you open with an apology or a recognition of something that, you know, your part in making that moment kind of volatile, that can really open a conversation with your child and say, wow, you know, I was really, gosh, you yell all the time, Dad, or I just get really frustrated because I can't find my stuff for my backpack and you're yelling at me. So uh, then you can have a conversation about how to get through those moments without being mad and yelling at each other. I know that's a big one. And we do have webinar recordings on a whole hour on power struggles. So those resources are really helpful because this is um, a a moment of everyday life for families. And so the more we can kind of disengage, cool down, and actually have a conversation about what's happening and how we can make it better, that will be so much more productive and loving for everyone. Okay, so I see there are a couple of questions. I have a huge problem with my, sorry.
There are more so comments, but you could go
More so
ahead and
comments,
continue.
yeah. There are a couple of questions here. And so there's a question about bedtime. It looks like maybe a teenager who's staying up really late, sometimes till 4 a.m. and getting homework done. This daughter is being defiant and disrespectful, and she's 14, so she's not obeying and kind of following the rules from the parent. And then another question about the kids are always fighting at bedtime and who goes first. They also don't want to sleep alone in their room alone. So I end up staying there until one falls asleep and then with the other one. So yes, oh my gosh, that was a really hard one to help children have the confidence to go to sleep on their own. So a couple of a very quick kind of response to those two questions. It sounds like I know the first question was with the 14-year-old, and the second question I'm assuming is with younger children since they it sounds a little, yes, it sounds I'm assuming is with younger children. One thing you can think about for both of those scenarios is to spend a little bit of time connecting with your child so they feel because as I was talking about before, those two siblings who are kind of fighting at bedtime and then they really want you to stay in the room, they're sort of craving that connection with you. It's not that they're asking for attention to manipulate you. It's really because like connecting with your loved adults is such a basic need for everyone. And so when we spend a few moments, so you could spend like you could have a special hug with your child. You could have a special like fist bump. You could have a moment in the car when you're just like, wow, how are you doing? I can see you're really tired today. Or share something from your day that your child might be really interested in hearing, or a mistake and how you fixed it. But the main idea in this connection is that you are kind of listening and being available to your child and getting kind of the end result is that they feel seen and heard and understood. So whatever kind of special moment, it could be 30 seconds, but there are those times, and I think everybody's experienced them, where you just feel like really seen and loved by somebody. And so you want to find some of those moments during the day so that your child is going to be, the younger children are going to feel more confident about being transitioning to sleep when it might be scary to get away, to be separated from the caregiver. And for an older child, that connection really helps them feel capable and, hey, my parent has my back. Like I know this, my homework is really tough. And so but my parent really loves me, and hey, maybe I'll go ask them for some advice because I feel kind of like they get me right now. So that's kind of a one idea to just do like some simple connecting and so that your child feels kind of that cup of encouragement. So when we are thinking about these bedtime and morning stressful moments, we want to what we talk about at PEP, we talk about the needs of the situation. So there, in every situation, there are lots of little things going on. And when we spend a moment, we kind of put our focus on like, what's the most important thing about what is the most important need of this part of the day? What really needs to happen? So in the morning, the needs of the situation are something like getting out the door by a certain time so everybody gets to school and work and their daily things on time. Another need of the situation is making sure and teaching the kids to be responsible for bringing the things that they need for their school day. So their lunch or their instrument or a special assignment for one of the classes or some kind of sports equipment. So the needs of the situation are getting out on time and teaching kids to be responsible for having their things. At bedtime, the needs of the situation might be with, for the little ones, helping them sleep on their own and having a successful bedtime where there's, love and connection and transition to sleeping. With older children, the needs of their of bedtime is really to support healthy sleep habits, getting 8 hours of sleep and sort of disengaging from their homework, their electronics, to social media, those kinds of things. So if you notice when I talked about these needs of the situation, I didn't talk about people so much. I talked about things. So it's not like Johnny is always late and makes us late for school, or Susie is always being really like running around the room and being a rascal at bedtime. We're just talking about the actual task or the need of bedtime and morning. So as we do that, we want to think about, well, what do we need in our backpack? It's Tuesday tomorrow. What goes on Tuesday? Do you need anything special in your backpack? And so the child is kind of working with you to find out and think through, well, okay, Tuesday, I need to bring my trombone with me today or tomorrow. So planning ahead reduces stress in this way. Packing lunches, sorry, packing lunches and doing things the night before are super helpful. Same with bedtime, the more you can plan ahead for a fun bedtime, and maybe even like earlier in the day with little ones, you might, but I really want to read that storybook again. And so we're kind of looking forward to that moment. And then as we are working on these things, we're kind of establishing routines and using having input with the kids to give them positive power over their day. They need some autonomy. They need to know, like, I have some control. I have some say in how my day goes. I know what I need, or my parent is helping me kind of think through what I need, and then I'm kind of working on taking responsibility for those things. Okay, I want to see if there are other questions. It looks like there was another question about sleeping, a child being sleeping by themselves. Okay. All right. So I'm gonna share some resources for that, and I will get to that question towards the end. Are there other questions about what I've said so far, or has that spurred questions of your own or scenarios at home that you want to address? Please put those in the chat. If you have like a particular pattern that you see, it might be that again, like the children are fighting at bedtime and trying to kind of make some conflict at bedtime. If you have kids who are dawdling or just really having a hard time getting up in the morning, or if you have kids who are kind of have a hard time getting all their things together in the morning and that makes it late. It would be helpful to get a little sense of what's happening in your home and sort of why this webinar spoke to you, so we can dig a little deeper on the things that people are really interested in addressing. Mine has a list of what to do, but I don't do anything. And okay, we're gonna get to that. The question is the parent having to always remind a child who already has a list of what to do. So as we just saw with a question there about routines and lists of things to do. Yep, somebody else says that's the same boat. Okay. So routines, as we know, I think as soon as, when children are really little and they're going to a class, there's a routine, there's a predictable series of events and activities. And for children, that's very grounding because they know what's happening next. They can trust the people around them, that everybody's going to be doing the moving from one activity to another. And for definitely for older children as well, the routine that they have of going to school and then probably having certain helping to establish like when they do their homework, when they do their relaxing, when they might have family events happening. So this routine is really, the structure is very grounding and uh, helpful and predictable for children. So they're trusting what's happening around them. And a couple of other sort of benefits of routines are that they can really eliminate or decrease power struggles, because when you have that list that a couple people have mentioned, you can say, what's next on your list? What do you think you need to do next? And so that routine helps to, it's like a neutral party that's keeping track of what needs to be done. It's not the parent remembering what needs to be done. It's the list on the wall. It's the routine that you've established. It helps kids cooperate because we're reducing stress and anxiety of, a parent maybe nagging or reminding a child. They can look at it's just calmer. Routines help children take charge of their own activities. It helps if when you have your sort of series of things happening, especially at bedtime, I think if your child really needs some connection, and this goes for the little ones, the like reading a book and snuggling, and for the older ones too. I know for me, I always go in to have just to check in on my son before I go to bed. He's 18. Hey, what's going on? I might just share a little thing that happened that day and just check in on, give him a kiss on the top of his head. And that's a wonderful thing that builds this connection moment. And we're focusing on what needs to be done, that it's a neutral place in our routine, and not the parent getting involved and having to remind. Okay, so it looks like a couple more chat comments came in here. Make up okay, so one child is kind of making up excuses to deviate from the routine. We have a bedtime routine, and a child who just has a lot of energy, wants to play and kind of delay bedtime, and then there's tears. And then there's another child who is kind of crying and being upset during bedtime. Okay, same. Okay, so bedtime I can see is a big one. So as we let's take a bedtime example. So with the children who were fighting, you can, when we want to solve a problem, when we want to address an issue that's like a pattern that's happening over and over again, we want to get everybody together and who are involved and say, hey, I've noticed that, and again, we want this to be objective. We don't want to, and we don't want to criticize, excuse me, anybody in the family. So we're going to say, hey, I've noticed, it's been really hard the past couple weeks, at bedtime. There's like fighting, and there are people trying to, there's fighting over bathroom time, and there's, kind of dilly-dallying, and, there's a lot of, when it's bedtime, people are wanting, there's sort of play, people are trying to go and play instead of go to bed. So we're acknowledging the challenge that we're having, and we're noticing what's happening. And when people are fighting over the bathroom, it just gets everybody worked up, and then it's a lot harder to go to sleep. I've noticed that it takes a lot longer to go to sleep after that. And so that's an issue, because sleep is really important, and for everyone. Would you guys agree with that? And so then that can open a conversation. You're going to state what you see, leave out the people, and then, hey, what do you think? And so your child is going to say, tell you what they think, what they've noticed, how they feel about that situation. And as you're talking, of course, they're going to be saying, they're going to be giving kind of openings to thinking about how it might go better. And so, look at that. Yeah, so bedtime I see is really hard. And, what do you think could help it go better? What would help you wind down for sleep, and sort of have a nice send off to sleeping, where you feel, relaxed and, warm and cuddly and ready to sleep? Because that's one of the most important things I, as a parent or caregiver, can help you do. It's a health issue. We need to get enough sleep. So how can we make this better? And I would say, actually, with this, with the children who are kind of, there are a couple of parents who talked about their child, it's bedtime and their child is whining or crying or trying to do something else instead of going to bed. That's an instance where, I was talking earlier about children who might, be craving more attention, more connection with you. And so I would try, thinking about spending a little bit of time. You could spend 5-10 minutes just like engaging with your child, and they tell you what they'd like to do. So you're either, whatever their favorite thing is to do, you might be, and for every, especially for the younger children, you might want to do it, like, before dinner, after dinner. And so the idea is, when they are connected with you, they are going to be more cooperative, and they're not going to feel like they, kind of, and this is subconscious, they're not going to feel like they really want your connection in the midst of bedtime, and they're doing things that are, kind of not helping the needs of the situation. So a few moments of connection during the day, 5-10 minutes before or after dinner, with the younger ones. And with the older ones, again, you want to have, like a special moment when your child knows that you really see them and love them. You can also, have, like, go out for a cup of coffee or a hot chocolate, or go for a walk where you're not looking at each other, and you can just spend some time talking together and connecting, and like asking questions and getting to know what your child's thinking about and what they're experiencing. And all of this is to say, when your child feels connected, they're going to be more cooperative, and they're going to feel more confident about those transition moments. So as you're thinking about bedtime or morning, you want to make that big list, decide what the most important things are, and, with your guidance. So you're kind of asking questions, you're writing a list, you're putting everything down. You don't want to judge or criticize anything that they might suggest. You just want to write them all down, and then talk through, what the most important ones are. And if there's a really kind of, idea that's out of, like, not very practical, or really silly, or out of left field, you might just say, hey, well, how do you think that would work? What do you think? That seems like it'd be really hard. What do you think? How do you think that would work? And so you're kind of asking questions to get the child to think through, their idea and whether it's sort of feasible or not. And then your child, so for younger children, making a list of things that you want to give them the power and the responsibility to make that as much as possible, depending on their age. For older children, you might they might want to have a list of a task list or things that they need to do in certain times on their phone, or they might set up alarms for certain things that they need to remember. And so you can talk through it with them. Okay, we know we need to do these things. What would be the best way? What's your what would be helpful? How can I support you in making that a visual thing so that you will remember? You don't have to you won't forget. And I know that when I remind you and nag you, you get really mad at me, and that just makes us cranky. So let's make sure we have this list of things to do, this routine set up in a way where I'm not involved as a parent. So this is in the slide deck. This is a routine chart that one of our parent educators made with her kids when they were little. And these look lots of different, there are tons of different examples I know. And again, for older children, putting it in an app on their phone, or having a typed up list, or having it in some way that where it's accessible to them. Okay, so again, we want that list with that visual list of tasks, or the one in the phone. You want that to be the boss. And so for those of you who talked about having a list of things that your child needs to do, you're asking them, that is the boss, that list of things that they have that you've worked on together. If you made a list for them and then put it up and said you need to do these 3 things, there's no buy-in from your child. So consider retooling it, or taking a look at it together to see, okay, what get their input on what's on that list. And then that's the boss. What's next on your list? Okay, you got the first thing done. That's great. Thanks so much. It looks like that was successful. What is the next thing to be done? And of course, we know that mistakes are going to happen. The natural consequences of a lot of things are incredible teaching tools for children. We can, despite our good intentions, running or taking a child's lunch to school, or something important that they forgot, is actually less helpful to a child than if they experience a day without something that they really needed to bring that they forgot. So the thing with a mistake is that the child's going to learn from that, and we need to zip our lips and not berate them or judge them, or ask them like, well, now do you know you need to bring your trombone on the right day? We're just going to kind of be quiet. We can empathize if they're upset about it. We can ask them like, hey, that must have been really hard not to have that important thing. What did it feel like? And what do you think you'll do next time? And then one of the most wonderful tools we can use is focusing on what goes well. So again, this is the growth mindset. As we see them trying, hey, you have 3 things on your chart, and you got 1 of them done. Hey, that's more than yesterday. And then when they get 2 of them done, hey, you got 2 of those things done, and I didn't have to intervene. So we're focusing on what's going well, because we want that to grow. We do not want the things that are undone, or maybe behavior that we don't want to encourage. We don't put a spotlight on it. We want to spotlight the things that are going well, the good choices they're making, so that behavior, those choices continue, and they feel good about themselves. Again, they'll do better when they feel better. And so we want to really focus on what's going well. Okay. I am, so I'm going to share a few takeaways on the next slide, but I'd love if there's anything today that's resonated with you, or a tool that you want to try, or you think might be helpful to you. Could you put that in the chat? It's always great to hear kind of what's interesting, what's helpful, what resonates with you. Okay, so some takeaways, kind of if 3 things that hopefully will stick with you today. One is to drop the rope, kind of disengage from those power struggles. It seems very counterintuitive. It's not about letting the child win. It's not about condoning the behavior. It's just about, hey, I need a break right now. I love you too much to fight about this. Let's regroup, and I'm just going to go calm down for a little bit, and we'll talk about it in a few minutes or later in the day. The routines around morning and bedtime, those are incredibly helpful because that is the boss. It guides you through what needs to be done rather than you having to intervene. And focus on what's going well. We want to water the flowers and not water the weeds, as we talk about. Okay, let me, I'm going to post the slides in the chat. So you can get them here from the chat. And then we'll get to some of your questions. Here we go. Okay. So there you go in the chat. I've just posted the slides. Okay, so I'm hoping with some of the bedtime questions, some of the things I shared have been helpful to you. That connection is so important. You're basically like putting a little coin in their piggy bank, because when their bank is full, when that goodness, when that feeling good, I feel confident, I feel competent, I feel connected with my child, with my parent, that's gonna take you really far, and that's gonna drive more cooperation, a calmer household, better connection with your child, as you work through these, these stressful times of the day sometimes. Okay. The only other thing I wanted to mention is that in the slide deck, there is a page of resources, and also this link here, the on-demand videos, whoops, are, if you click on that link, you'll get to our on-demand video page that helps you look at all the other resources and topics we have. And then last thing is, again, here's a QR code to our live webinar page, and this 25 off coupon you can use more than once. So feel free to take advantage of that.